If I told you your imagination is God, would you laugh? Think I've lost it? Or maybe, just maybe, you felt it too? In 1955, Neville Goddard delivered one of his most powerful lectures, Creating with Imagination. In it, he drops a truth bomb that, if fully understood, could rebuild your entire reality. Let's break it down, with heart, humor, and a whole lot of Neville magic. For Neville, imagination isn't just for daydreaming or fantasy. It's the spiritual creative force behind everything that exists. In his own words, man is all imagination. God is man, and exists in us, and we in him. Think about that for a second. God is imagination. Imagination is you. This isn't blasphemy, it's empowerment. Neville is saying that you are the operant power, the creator, the source. We're trained from childhood to believe that change comes from the outside. Get the degree, then you're smart. Get the partner, then you're lovable. Get the money, then you're secure. Neville flips the script. Everything you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. Meaning, reality is a shadow of imagination. The real world isn't out there, it's in here. In your inner world, your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, assumptions. One of the most shocking ideas Neville presents is this: creation is finished. Wait, what? How can creation be finished if we're constantly evolving? Here's the twist. All possible realities, every outcome, every version of you, already exist in imagination. You're not creating from scratch. You're simply selecting selecting a version of yourself, a version of your life, a version of the world. Neville says you do this by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, instead of working endlessly to become confident, reading 10 books on self-esteem, analyzing your childhood trauma for the 100th time. Neville would say, stop trying, start assuming. Go within. Imagine a scene where you're already confident, maybe giving a speech, meeting new people with ease. Feel it, breathe it, live in that moment. Now carry that feeling into your day. That's how you move into a new state of consciousness. Neville talks a lot about states, and here's where things get mystical and practical at the same time. He says we are not the thoughts we think. We are not even our personalities. We are the consciousness that moves through different states. Imagine these states like clothes. There's a broke state, a wealthy state, a victim state, a creator state, a loved state. You can change your state the same way you change your clothes, by changing what you feel to be true about yourself. Assume the state, he says. Wear it. You don't need to become. You need to assume. For Neville, prayer isn't begging. Prayer is believing. Prayer is the art of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This might be the most revolutionary idea in his entire teaching. Traditional prayer, please God give me. Neville's prayer, thank you God it is done, because in imagination, it is. So your prayer becomes a quiet inner knowing. It's not about words, it's about state. Here's how Neville says manifestation works. You imagine an outcome, not as a wish, but as if it already happened. You feel the emotion of already having it. You dwell in that state consistently. External reality reorganizes to match your inner state. It's not instant. There's a gestation period, just like planting a seed. But the results, they're inevitable. Imagination creates reality. Persist in the assumption that you already are what you want to be, and that you shall become. Here's a juicy takeaway. Most people try to will their way to success. Neville says, forget willpower. Use imagination. You can't force the world to change, but you can imagine it differently, and that inner shift will pull the outer into alignment. It's way easier and way more powerful. Why? Because the subconscious responds to images and emotions, not effort. Imagination is God. You are the operant power. States of consciousness determine your reality. Creation is already finished. You're selecting, not building. Prayer is feeling the wish fulfilled. Imagination, not effort, creates lasting change. What state am I living in right now? What am I assuming to be true about myself? What do I believe is possible for me? What inner scene am I playing on? Repeat. Your answers shape. If the first part of this teaching opened your eyes to the idea that imagination creates reality, then this is where it gets real. Because now we're stepping into the how. In his 1955 lecture, Creating with Imagination, Neville doesn't just talk about the power of imagination. He shows us how to live from that power. Not just think about it, not just wish it, but to embody it. He calls it living in the end. And once you truly understand what that means and start doing it, not once, but consistently, your entire life begins to shift. Not through effort, not through hustle, but through identity. So let's break it down in the way Neville intended, boldly, clearly, and with the full force of belief. Live in the end. 3 simple words. But what do they actually mean? Neville isn't saying to wait for the result. He's saying to live from it, right now. To mentally and emotionally occupy the space where your desire is already fulfilled, where your wish is already fact. That means feeling the feelings, thinking the thoughts, and walking through the world as if what you desire is not on its way, but already yours. So if you want love, you don't act like someone who's searching for it. You become someone who is already deeply loved. If you want success, you don't chase it. You walk as someone who already owns it. Neville explains it like this. Consciousness is the only reality, and your consciousness, your current state of being, determines what you experience externally. If you continue to see yourself as someone who is waiting, needing, trying, then life will echo that. It has no choice. But the moment you shift internally to someone who already has what they desire, reality begins to move. Subtle at first, sometimes instant, but always definite. One of the biggest misunderstandings about Neville's method is this. People think he's telling you to fake it, to pretend. But that's not it. Neville never once said to pretend. He said to assume, there's a world of difference. Pretending is superficial. It's like putting on a mask, all while knowing it's not really you. But assuming is about identification. It's about becoming something internally so that the external has no choice but to follow. He said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not the image, not the fantasy, the feeling. Because feeling is the bridge between imagination and creation. It's the language of the subconscious mind, and the subconscious is what shapes your world. So you don't act rich while feeling broke. You feel wealth until the outer world reflects that feeling. You don't pretend to be confident while doubting yourself inside. You assume the version of you that already owns that confidence, and you walk in it. This is not fake it till you make it. It's feel it until you become it. Neville gave a very specific method for doing this. He said, take a short scene, just a few seconds long. That would be true if your desire were already fulfilled. Something vivid, something simple. For example, if you wanted to get married, imagine your best friend hugging you and saying, I'm so happy for you. If you wanted a new home, picture yourself holding the keys, walking through the door. Whatever your desire is, find a moment that implies it's already real. Then you bring that scene to life in your imagination, not once, but repeatedly. Not with hope, but with faith, with emotional conviction. And here's the part people miss. You don't visualize to get something. You visualize to become someone. You play the scene in your mind until it becomes more real to you than your current circumstances, until your emotions begin to shift, until your state of consciousness has changed. That's when you've successfully lived in the end. There's a reason Neville constantly emphasized using this technique right before sleep. He called this the state akin to sleep, that hazy moment between waking and dreaming, when the conscious mind is quiet and the subconscious is open. That's the window. That's where the seed gets planted. In this state, you're more impressionable. Your assumptions go deeper, and because your body is relaxed, your inner world becomes more vivid. If you want to apply this the way Neville intended, go to bed each night imagining your wish fulfilled. Not as a fantasy, but as a memory. Replay the same scene. Feel the satisfaction. Drift into sleep carrying the emotion of "it is done." Neville says that if you fall asleep in a state of fulfillment, your world will rearrange itself to reflect that. And it works. It works because your subconscious doesn't argue with imagination. It accepts what you feel to be true and makes it real. Here's where most people mess this up. They start to assume their wish is fulfilled, they feel great, they're doing everything right. But then, they check. They start looking around. Did it happen yet? Why isn't it here? Should I change my technique? And in that moment, they slip right back into the state of not having. Living in the end means refusing to let outer appearances shake your inner assumption. It means trusting that what you've imagined is already done, even if your senses scream the opposite. Neville said the world is a mirror, and a mirror doesn't change until you do. So if you want something to shift on the outside, you must hold steady on the inside. Don't wait for signs. Don't wait for proof. You are the sign. You are the proof. Your job is to maintain the state, the assumption, the feeling, the end. Everything else follows. Most people hear this teaching and dismiss it as too simple, too mystical, too unreal. But what if you didn't? What if, for just 1 week, you tried living in the end, for real? What if you decided to believe that what you desire is already yours, and you acted, felt, and thought from that place? What would change in your energy, your behavior, your relationships? What would you stop chasing, and what might finally chase you? Neville believed that the moment you dare to live in the end, not wish for it, not hope, but truly live from it, you awaken the God power within. And when that power wakes up, life can't help but move. So here's the challenge. Tonight, before sleep, imagine one scene. Just one. Something simple, joyful, vivid. Imagine it as if it's already done. Feel it. Sleep in it. Then repeat. Not to get, but to become. Because in Neville's world, and maybe in the real world too, you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And once you become it, the rest is inevitable.